Putin's war is already hurting American families at the gas pump.
70% of the increase in prices in March came from Putin's price hike.
The second big reason for inflation is Vladimir Putin. Not a joke. The Putin price hike. Putin's price hike. Every kitchen table cost is going to go up, not down. It's inching up because of what the Russians and the Saudis just did. Inflation is a worldwide problem right now because of a war in Iraq and the impact on oil and what Russia's doing.
Inflation began ratcheting up right after he took office in February of 2021. Russia didn't invade Ukraine until February of 2022. So a year later, feed grain prices were rising before Russia's invasion as well.
All right, let's bring in Congresswoman Kat Cammack, member of the House Homeland Security Committee, joining Kevin McCarthy in a visit to El Paso and the border. Congresswoman, you know, we thought that inflation was going to resonate to the fact that it was going to be a red wave. I also thought when people became cognizant of what's happening at the border that there was going to be a red wave. But you guys are going down to the border. Are you going to get people to pay attention outside the Republican caucus?
You know, I think we will. And just for the record, Brian, I will say that I think you look great with blue or pink hair. So, Ainsley, if you could arrange that,
we're thinking about that. Yeah, I just don't know where you get it.
It's a good look.
I'll ask Judge Janine.
Oh, don't worry, we'll hook you up.
That was nail polish.
But no, think about this. We have 300 people a day that are overdosing or dying of fentanyl poisoning. This is a real issue that is impacting every single community in America today, and it is all stemming from this open border. And now with the end of Title 42, we know for a fact that we're going to go from 7,000 encounters a day to over 18,000 a day. It's an open border. We have lost operational control, and people in everyday America are paying the price, sometimes with their lives.
Sure. Congresswoman, you know, we started this particular segment talking about the high cost of everything. And I think the average person on this Thanksgiving, you know, they don't blame Putin for the higher price of poultry. Some just blame the system. You know, I saw a survey that said that about half the country blamed Joe Biden. The other half said it was out of his control. With so many people worried about prices, how do you get people interested in the border if you are sitting hundreds or 1,000 or 2 miles away from the border?
Well, it's pretty simple, and I'll just say this on the spending and inflation. You don't spend over $10 trillion in 23 months without consequence. Because of the left spending, every single American family today is paying $8,500 more this year than they did last year. That is a fact. That is economics 101. You cannot spend as much as this left, the Nancy Pelosi and Biden have, and not have any consequences here domestically. But to bring it all home, I mean, think about this. You know, when we have people coming across the border unchecked, not only are we seeing an uptick in the fentanyl poisonings across the country, but we're seeing the crime. As the wife of a first responder, you guys know, my husband is seeing these overdoses, these deaths, the crime uptick in our community. And if you think that you're not paying for it, think about the pressure on our social services that all these folks are now being reliant on.
Yeah, but it doesn't seem to be resonating. It doesn't seem to be resonating with Democrats. How do you explain that?
You know, and I think that's the big thing, is it's become such a political issue, and our national security should not be a red or blue issue. It should be an American issue.
Can you name any Democratic? Can you name a Democratic lawmaker that will join you at the border?
Well, not today. You know, that's unfortunate that today we don't have any Democrat lawmakers with us. But we're here to give thanks to all the men and women who have put their life on the line in trying to stem the flow of the illegals coming across our border. Privately, I can tell you I've had Democrat colleagues that have pulled me aside and said, listen, it's out of control. We need to do something. But when I ask them, why won't you speak out? Why won't you go to the border with us? Why won't you admit that we have a crisis? They said, oh, I'll lose my committee assignments. I'll do, you know, there'll be retribution. I'll get primaried. And now that the Republicans have the House, they don't have to worry about that. So there should be no excuse anymore as to why Democrats don't work with Republicans in securing the border.
Congresswoman, Charlamagne the God is he is on every morning. The Breakfast Club is his show. It's very, very popular. He's a Democrat, but he also is not afraid to go after Democrats when he doesn't agree with them. And he was talking about the next presidential election and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg. And he was also talking about Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. And he said, we really need to look at your state, Florida. Listen to this.
I think people are sleeping on Ron DeSantis. I think that, you know, Ron DeSantis is a very, formidable opponent. I can't even believe the conversations I'm hearing where people are saying like, "Oh, I don't think he can win the national election." Why not? What would make him think that he can't win a national election? Sorry to tell y'all, man. I'm from the South. I'm from South Carolina. More of the country is more like Florida than we may want to believe. But majority of America is more, rural and full of conservative values, like in a place like Florida, than there is, other places. I think when you live in New York or California, you might be fooled and think that's the world. But that's not the world. The world is more sovereign in Midwest than anything.
Congresswoman, do you agree with him, and why?
I absolutely do. And I just got to point out, that it's bad for the left when Comedy Central is having a conversation aired on national television like this, when they have absolutely gone after Republicans and conservatives for years. So I think this is incredible that Comedy Central is now coming around to this and actually admitting it out loud. The left has no talent on their bench. They are in big trouble. And when you look at the right, we have talent up and down the bench all across the country. But the one thing that I am certain of, the next president of the United States will be from the Sunshine State. Well,
you never know. By the way, Charlamagne the God does a radio show here in New York called The Breakfast Club, and we spoke to him. Fox News Digital did yesterday. Congresswoman, thank you very much for joining us from the border. Have a successful trip down there.
Thank you.
You bet. I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.